My name is Kyoichi Amami. I'm a 40-year-old business owner. Straight after graduating from college, I worked at a company for 3 years, and after that went abroad to get my master's degree at a university overseas. I came back to Japan after successfully getting my MBA, and I was approached by my best friend from college, Kazuyoshi Hirouchi, to start a company together. We're gonna make it to the top, Kyoichi! You know it! From the first year, we were working like dogs with almost no salary or income. Our work was divided pretty clearly, with my role being planning and his being sales. Looking back, I can't even remember how intense and tough those days were. But they were fruitful days spent working hard with my best friend, and eventually we started to see results. Our company continued to grow steadily. Maybe it's about time we hired some help. That's true, like accounting and general affairs. It would be most helpful if we can find someone who could do both. Should we try headhunting for people who are already in the middle of their career? I have some ideas. The person that Kazuyoshi brought in was a woman named Misako. As an employee and an office worker, she was brilliant, and I was slowly starting to fall for her. And so, if you'd like, please go out with me.
It would be my pleasure.
Congratulations to the two of you! The year after we got married, we welcomed our daughter Yuina, who is now in the 2nd grade. Our company also continued to grow, and we now have over 50 employees. Both my work life and my personal life were amazing. Or so it could have been, but recently I was concerned that my wife had been oddly cold toward me.
Hey, Yuina has her English classes today, but can you take her?
Wasn't it your turn to take her today? Actually, if you're too busy or you have too much on your plate, why don't you just come and talk to me about it?
I want to keep my work life and my personal life completely private, okay? So, can you take her or not?
I mean, I guess I can figure it out.
Okay, great, thanks. Something came up, so...
Another happy hour. You've been going out a lot recently.
Can you call it what it is, a business dinner? Who do you have to thank for the recent growth in sales?
Even if it is a business dinner, is it really necessary for you to go when you're a part of the general affairs department?
Can you talk to Mr. Kazuyoshi about that then? He's the one that's invited me. He said that I bring a good energy and that the business dinners are a lot more successful when I'm there.
Alright, well, I'll talk to him about it.
Thanks. Well then, see you later.
I contacted Kazuyoshi immediately. Hey, how's it going? Hey, not bad! Hey, Kazuyoshi, is it really necessary for Misako to go to the business dinner? Of course! Lately, it seems like there's a lot of business dinners in general. Come on, sales is my department, right? Don't you trust me as your vice president to be pushing sales? I'm doing the dirty work here so that you can keep your status too. I know, and I'm grateful for that, but Kazuyoshi said he was busy and hung up the phone. I couldn't deny that the company had grown at this rate because of Kazuyoshi's networking skills, so I couldn't press much further. I adjusted the meetings that I had scheduled for the evening, and I went to go pick up my daughter to take her to her English class.
Daddy, guess what? I'm giving a speech today in my English class.
Oh, is that so? Good luck, Yuina. You'll be great.
Thanks, I will.
My daughter was very active, and although I might be a little biased as her parent, she's extremely smart as well. Her face? Well, I guess she looks a lot like her mother. I would have felt bad for her to look like me anyway, so I thought it was fine that she didn't bear much resemblance to me. That day, it was past 11 p.m. and Misako had still not come home. I finally got a hold of her and...
Ah, Kiyoshi.
Misako! Oh, thank goodness. I've tried contacting you multiple times. Where are you? Is the business dinner finished?
Yeah, it's done. But I don't have it in me to go all the way home, so I'm going to stay in a business hotel tonight.
What? You're not coming home?
More importantly, I'm going to be requesting some days off next week.
Did something happen, or did you have something planned?
One of Yuina's classmates' moms invited me to go on a trip with her.
Oh, well, that's pretty sudden, again. Where are you going?
We're going to the hot springs. To the Kusama Hot Springs in Gunma Prefecture.
Oh, Kusama, huh. I guess it is well known for the hot springs, but I don't remember you having any fellow mom friends that you were such good friends with that you go for an overnight trip together.
I have friends? How rude of you. She said she won the tickets and invited her husband, but he has to go on a business trip those days, so she invited me instead. We're going to have a nice girls' trip, alright?
Alright, fine. Well, have fun. But I'd like for you to tell me in advance when you're not coming home, unlike tonight. It'll make Yuina sad, too.
That girl is already in the 2nd grade. She'll be fine. It's just one night.
I kept asking her who she was going with, but she kept on dodging the question and not giving any specific names. Until finally...
It's Miss Naito, all right?
And for some reason angrily gave me an answer. If I recall correctly, Miss Naito was a fellow mom whose daughter went to the same elementary school as Yuina. Well, if that's the case, then fine, I thought. I didn't think much of it at that time.
Hello, Mr. Amami. Are you off work today?
Hi there, Miss Naito. Nice to see you.
Well, I see you're just as busy as ever.
No, I'm going in after lunch. My colleagues forced me to get some rest.
Well, don't work too hard, all right?
Ever since I started my own company, sleep has become a luxury I can't always afford. Sometimes I think I've turned into a vampire.
It'll be unfair to Misako and Yuina.
Well, you're right. There's nothing I can say to that.
Thank you so much for the souvenir from the Kusatsu Hot Springs.
Huh?
Even our son has become obsessed with those Kusatsu cookies.
Wait a second, didn't my daughter go to the hot springs with you?
No, I had to go into my part-time job because one of the students has been out sick, so I haven't had any free time to go anywhere. Misako said that she went with you and Yuina, that it was a family vacation.
Oh, is that so?
Misako and I have both been so busy that we haven't even had time to catch up over coffee, but please give her my regards.
Yes, of course, well, that's interesting. Misako told me that she was going to the Kusatsu Hot Springs with her friend who had won tickets, but then that friend, Miss Naito, thinks that we went on a family holiday together, me included. That can only mean one thing, that Misako was lying. If that's the case, then who did she go with? My heart started racing and my shirt was getting drenched with cold sweat. Calm down, calm down. First, I need to get to work. I could talk to her about our trip later at the night. I took a few deep breaths and got into my car, but when I arrived at the office... Huh? Is someone else here? I saw some movement in my office, and I leaned my ear against the wall to see if I could hear anything.
Mr. Kazuyoshi, we can't do this here.
It's fine, don't worry, that guy isn't coming in till later anyway.
But still...
These voices... wait a second, that's Misako and Kazuyoshi, isn't it? Isn't this what you wanted, Misako? You said that you wanted some more excitement, right?
Stop it, Mr. Kazuyoshi.
Where do you want to go next?
Where shall we go?
We can even go somewhere a little further away, wherever you want. Thanks to Kyoichi, I got a temporary bonus, too.
Then I want to go to Okinawa, or maybe Hokkaido.
You're okay with a domestic trip?
What?
I'm the vice president. I have plenty of money. The most forbidden international affair trip. Doesn't that sound great?
But what do we do if he finds out about us?
That guy may be book smart, but he's not the smartest in other ways, if you know what I mean. There's no way he'd suspect a thing.
That's true.
Hawaii or Guam or... Ooh, why don't we go somewhere far, far away?
Even Europe? Can we go there?
Sure thing. I'll put together the perfect itinerary for you. And us.
Thank you, Mr. Kazuyoshi.
What is this? My wife Misako and my best friend Kazuyoshi having an affair with each other in broad daylight? What were they going to do if any other employee walked in? You two! What on earth are you two doing? And in my office, what are you doing in my office?
Kyoichi? I thought you were coming in from 1300.
My lunch early because I wanted to get back to my work.
Well, I can explain.
Don't worry, I heard everything from the other side of this door. Misako, this is the kind of relationship you've had with Kazuyoshi, huh?
No, not at all. Mr. Hirochi is just a friend and...
Interesting. Then what was the reason for having a private conversation inside your boss's office of all places? When I was leaving the house, I just so happened to bump into Miss Naito. Looks like she was also on her way to work.
No way!
Misako, did you lie to me and Yuina and go to the Kusatsu Hot Springs with this guy?
No, I told you I went out with one of Yuina's mom friends.
You can stop with the lies already, it's hard to watch. Miss Naito told me that she was told that Yuina and I went on the trip with you. That's what you told her.
I see. Well, I guess you found out now.
Kazuyoshi, do you care to explain yourself? What's going on here? Can't you tell? It's just as you can see. Misako and I are in love. Since when? How long has this been going on? Oh, since long before you two got married. Stop messing around and be honest with me and tell me the truth. I am telling you the truth, actually. And as proof, I may as well mention that daughter of yours...
Kazuyoshi, no!
Her affair has already been exposed, Misako. There's no reason to hide anything from him anymore. It doesn't matter. No way. I imagined the worst possible scenario and looked over at Misako, who confirmed this nightmare by looking away. Kyoichi, you spent the last 8 years believing that Yuina was your daughter, and not once did you have any doubts, did ya? Yeah, obviously. She's a sweet girl without one bad bone in her body. She is my precious daughter. Even if she's actually my daughter? What? If you take a DNA test, you'll know immediately that Yuina and I are the real family, that I'm her real father. That can't be true. Wait, Misako, say something. He's lying, right? Yuina is she's our daughter. You and me, right? You're kidding me. I mean, she's always called me Dad. That's because her mother, Misako, has been acting this whole time like you were her father. So of course she thinks that. How can this be?
Oh, please, don't make this my fault now. You know you're to blame. All you ever do is work. You never paid any attention to me. And ever since we had a kid, you only see me as just another employee.
Then why did you get married to me? Especially if you already had a relationship with this guy. It was my idea. I told her to do it. You were the key to growing this business. What is that supposed to mean? Back then, it's hard for me to admit it, but I was a useless piece of crap. But I had big dreams that someday I would make it to the top. And so I bet my money on you. I knew that you would be able to make this business bigger than I ever could. I don't understand. You were always depending on me, and in turn, let me depend on you. That's because Misako had been telling me everything. So before we ever even spoke, I knew what you were thinking, and that allowed me to make moves accordingly. Thanks to that, I've been able to climb all the way up to vice president, and I know everything about this business and this company. You two were teaming up against me.
You know, when I look at you like this, it makes me realize altogether what a pathetic man you are.
I'm sorry to have made you tolerate this for 10 years, Misako. From now on, I promise to provide you with money and excitement in your life.
I can't wait, my darling.
Wow, is this really my wife? I've never heard her say darling. I could no longer recognize my business partner or my life partner that was standing in front of me.
So that's the story, so we're getting a divorce.
But Yuina, what about Yuina?
I'll be taking full custody of my daughter. I'm going to remarry with Kazuyoshi, and we're going to become a real family.
You think you can take her that easily? You know that Yuina and you are a fake family, so why don't you just let go of her while she's still young? Damn it, this cheating bastard trying to talk down to me? Well then, the sooner the better! Kazuyoshi threw the divorce papers at me, and at the bottom I saw that my wife had already signed her name.
Oh, and this.
Aren't you glad that we had these prepared? Misako shoved another piece of paper in my face, and when I had a look, I couldn't believe what was written on it. Excuse me? A settlement fee of $800,000? And to resign as the president and hand the company over in its entirety to Kazuyoshi? What the hell is this? Why should I have to pay you any sort of settlement?
As compensation for the emotional suffering I've had to endure over the last 10 years.
You're the one who's been cheating on me all this time!
You're the one who neglected me and therefore made me cheat.
As if stealing my daughter wasn't enough, you're trying to take my money too? Hey, don't forget about your seat as president too! Now that must truly be a joke. You know that this is my company! If anything, you'll be the one leaving!
Well then, we'll be forcing you to quit.
As if you have any power or right to do so!
We sure can. We have proof of your scandals. Cold, hard proof.
Me? Scandals? What are you even talking about? Well, it seems like you've forgotten. Remember this paperwork? The one with your signature on it? When I looked at the paper, there was indeed my signature on it. However... No, I don't remember because I never signed that. Well, that's too bad because it has your signature on it regardless. Did you forge my signature? Who knows? I sure don't know. You bastards! Anyway, this is proof that you abused your position as the president of this company for your own personal benefit.
I've just sent an email to the entire staff notifying them about this, so it's too late for you to try to stop it.
You'd prepared all this just to knock me out of the picture? Why? Why are you doing this? We built this company together, Kazuyoshi. How could you? You were always just a pawn in my game. Back then, and even now, idiot.
You should just be grateful that we're not getting the police involved. Oh, and don't forget about the settlement fee.
Even if only Yuina. Give her back to me!
What a funny thing for you to say. She's me and Kazuyoshi's daughter, so you'll be the one giving her back to him.
You realize she's only 8 years old! Don't worry, I'm gonna be a great dad to her. Better than you! Shortly after, there was an emergency company meeting, and I desperately tried to claim my innocence. But I didn't stand a chance against the thorough fake evidence that Misako and Kazuyoshi had prepared. I was also pushed out of my seat as the president of the company that I built up with my own 2 hands, and I lost all trust of my employees. And to make matters worse, Kazuyoshi was praised as my successor who had gotten rid of the evil president. I lost all motivation, and I gave up on my own company. However, I couldn't give up on my own daughter, and I decided to fight back. Unfortunately, it was undeniable that we didn't share any DNA, and I had to accept the truth, but after raising her for 8 years, she was my daughter. There was no way that I was going to leave my precious daughter with those 2. However, my efforts were useless, and the result was cruel. Although the affair was confirmed and therefore I no longer had to pay them a settlement fee, they were given full custody of my daughter.
Daddy! Daddy!
Come on, hurry up.
Yuina!
Daddy!
After the divorce, the agreement was that I would get to see her once a month, but my ex-wife cut off all communication and blocked me. She didn't even let me see her once. I thought I would go speak to her directly and tried going to my former office, but because the employees were convinced that I had been a terrible boss, they were gatekeeping and refused to let me in. In the midst of all that, half of my assets were taken in the divorce, and I'd already reached my limit and collapsed. I don't know how long I was out for, but when I finally came to, luckily my rent had been automatically deducted from whatever savings were left, so I wasn't at risk of being evicted, and my electricity, water, and gas bills were also fine. If I ever got too hungry, I would just go to those trendy delivery apps and order some food, before going right back to bed and feeling completely worthless. Little by little, I slowly started to get back on my feet, and I finally mustered up the energy to go throw out my garbage. I couldn't remember the last time I had left my bed, much less gone outside. When I walked out of the house, it was the first time I realized that the season had changed. It was early in the morning, and I could see salarymen rushing to their work, or housewives hanging up their laundry outside. However, I have nothing left. I have nothing left to live for. I started walking around aimlessly, and I knew that if I ever went back home, I would probably never see the light of day ever again. Without thinking, my feet carried me to my old house, and that was when an outrageous scene came into my view. Wait, is that?
No, stop it! Let me go! Don't touch me!
Don't speak to your father like that.
This person isn't my dad! I want my real dad! Where's Daddy?
How many times do I have to tell you that I am your real dad? You need to listen to what I'm saying, or else—
No, I don't wanna!
Yuina was trying to wrestle her way out of Kazuyoshi's arms, and in the process, I saw her hands hit him in the face. I'm letting you have such a good life, and this is how you say thanks, you little brat! Ugh!
Ow!
Yuina, now go to school!
That's enough. You need to get it together already. Driver, take her away.
I wanted to run over, but before I could get one step closer, Yuina was shoved in the car and drove off. Why won't she accept me? This is all your fault. Why did you raise such an undisciplined kid?
What do you mean it's not my fault? She thought Kyoichi was her dad all this time.
So what? She doesn't listen to a thing I say, the little brat!
It's only a matter of time. When she realizes how good her life is now, I'm sure she'll calm down eventually.
In that moment, a switch turned on inside of me. Yuina is suffering, and she's unhappy with them. I have to do something. I have to take her back. I promise I'll come for you, Yuina. Just wait for me. From there, I started to make moves. I checked how much I had left in my savings account and utilized the tools and experience I had gained until then, as well as the network that I still had, and I started planning the next phase. People I had worked with in the past, people who I had been estranged with when I got too busy with my own work, I went to each one by one and explained the situation as I tried to get back on my feet. There were some people who I had helped out in the past with loans, and they all listened intently as I explained my new business plan. With their blessings, I had my opportunity, and after applying for a loan with the bank, I began my comeback. For the first time in a long time, I dove headfirst into my work, forgetting to eat or sleep in order to reach my goal as fast as I could. These days around the clock continued on, and before I knew it, 2 years had flown by.
Kiyoshi, it's me, Misako.
Ah, yes, Misako, the ex-wife who had an affair with the vice president and ruined her husband's life. Now that we are no longer married and don't have any relationship, please call me Mr. Amami.
Help me! Help us! We're going bankrupt!
What are you talking about?
The company that you and Kazuyoshi built together!
Oh, that's right, I heard that he was caught embezzling money to a certain group of people. And as a result, the police have gotten involved and that things have been chaotic over there since.
Kiyoshi, you knew that?
Well, whether you like it or not, I was the former president, so these rumors do fall into my lap.
Hey, can you stop talking to me like we're strangers? Even when we got a divorce, we were still partners who were once in love, right?
No matter the history, we're now strangers, so...
No, but I'm not joking anymore. Things are really bad right now.
I'm sure they are. But why are you talking to me about it? Shouldn't you be contacting the current president of the company, Kazuyoshi?
Kazuyoshi is useless. Even though he was working alongside you as the vice president all this time, he's all talk and doesn't actually have a clue about the business.
That sounds about right. He was the vice president after all, and he seemed to know what he was doing. But that was all a part of the business plan that I had devised. I built the company's structure so that his sales skills could be used to their full potential. So it was only successful because I was there to support in places that he didn't even realize, and he thought that it was all his own doing.
But you guys were only able to achieve your success because you worked together, right?
Oh, well, when it came to handling the investments and any preparations required to set up a business, I did everything myself. Am I missing something?
I never heard this!
Of course you haven't, because Kazuyoshi has no awareness of himself. He might have some skills in sales, but that's really all he's got.
Ever since you left the company, it's been going straight down the drain. Along with our performance sinking, we've been losing our best employees one by one and...
Well, of course. That's because I've invited them to join my company.
What?
Yes, that's right. I've started my own company again.
You're lying. How? When?
Coming up on 2 years now.
No, but even then, why would our employees follow you? They were the ones that had to suffer after the scandal that you caused.
For the members that have joined me, I explained everything that happened and spoke honestly.
And they believed you?
It was hard at first, but when the business started to fall apart after I left and the treatment of the employees has started to take a turn for the worst, apparently they had all started to have their suspicions about the two of you.
How could you? Isn't it illegal, scouting our employees like that?
I'm in a different industry from you guys, and if anything, headhunting is a perfectly normal thing to do, isn't it?
Well then we're going to acquire your company.
Huh?
And then that would mean that you're going to be my subordinate, right? So then you can take responsibility and help to rebuild our company.
What is this nonsense? Do you realize that my company's performance has already well surpassed yours? And that my company's value is double what yours is?
Double? Did you say double?
I'm very grateful to report that we have been on a steady climb up, and the next quarter is projected to be even better.
How is that possible in 2 years?
I already had the experience from building up that first company, so I could move much faster. You're welcome to come and try and acquire us, but you're already aware that you're just going to lose, right?
Alright, fine. Then you leave me no choice but to use my secret hand. I'll offer to remarry you.
Huh?
You heard me. I'll kick out Kazuyoshi, and I'll let you come back to our company again and make you president. That way you can also be with Yuina again, see? And you'll get back the company that you worked so hard to build. And you get back your beautiful wife. It's a win-win situation for you.
I really don't care about any of that besides Yuina.
What? Why not?
Why the hell would I want to get remarried again to a woman who was betraying me for over 10 years?
Of course you would. Wait, you don't want to?
There's something wrong with your head.
Since when were you so spicy?
Plus, I'm sure Kazuyoshi will lose his seat as the president regardless.
What is that supposed to mean?
Oh, did you think that the employees who quit hadn't caught on to your lies and deception?
What?
Everyone has seen right through your plan, and we have all the evidence now too. It's only a matter of time before an emergency meeting is going to be called, and both the Vice President Kazuyoshi and you are going to be fired.
No, this can't be true.
And plus, the people that he was embezzling the money to. Unlike me, who was just fired and let go, I'm certain that the police will be fully involved.
The police?
I'm sure that they'll be right at your doorstep soon enough.
And what about Yuina? What's going to happen to her? If I get arrested, then...
Oh please, funny how a woman who sent her own child to live off with her grandparents just after 3 months is acting like she cares.
What?
That, along with plenty of other evidence that I've collected more than enough thanks to a detective that I've hired. Even your parents were crying, saying how they felt so sorry for Yuina.
You spoke to my parents?
Well, when I told them that I would be taking Yuina back, they cried even more and thanked me. Therefore, there will be no more issues at all if you get arrested.
But what else was I supposed to do? He hated children. That's not my fault.
The two of you are truly the scum of the earth, and I feel the most sorry for Yuina, who had to go through this. Because it's partly my own fault, I'm going to apologize to her over and over again. In return, no matter what happens, I'm going to protect her if my life depends on it. You two, on the other hand, I couldn't care less about what happens to you.
Even if it's just me, please help me.
You're the person I care about the least.
Wait, Kyochi, please! Kyochi, help me!
And so I got my revenge. I blocked both of their numbers and I went straight to Misako's parents' house to pick up Yuina.
Dad!
Yuina! I'm so sorry. From now on, I'll never let you go.
Daddy!
I held my daughter, who had grown a little taller but was as cute as ever. Shortly thereafter, Misako and Kazuyoshi were released from the company straight into the hands of the police. Given the reality of the situation, it's unlikely that they'll be able to avoid prison. As the former president of the company, I was questioned too, but I was cleared of any wrongdoing and released with a clean slate. To my relief, I was also awarded full custody of Yuina. Nowadays, we rented a house near where Yuina was living with my in-laws, and the two of us are happy. Phew, sheesh, Yuina. Do you think that we could take a break? Dad feels a little sick from that roller coaster.
No, again!
This is our third rotation of the coffee cups, followed by the roller coaster.
You left all alone me with those people, Dad, so you're gonna play with me until I say so.
Yes.
I know that you're not my real dad, but even then, I love you, Daddy.
Yuina.
Look, there's a crepe stand over there that looks delicious. Dad, I want a chocolate banana crepe.
Aren't you sad that your mom isn't around anymore? I asked her just once. I don't want a mom that makes my dad sad, was her reply. It was a complicated feeling, but I can't deny that that made me a little happy. From now on, as both her father and the president of a company, I will continue to protect my daughter and the employees that trusted me again. With this promise at heart, I moved forward with Yuina by my side. My name is Hisashi Wakabayashi. I'm a 30-year-old regular office employee. This is a story of a troublesome incident caused by my older brother. I have a wife who's the same age as me. Her name is Tomomi. This is our 3rd year of being married. We were both 30 years old, and given our age and that we were finally financially stable, we had started talking about the possibility of having kids. I, of course, wanted to have kids with you, but I also knew that it was a big physical undertaking for women. On top of that, I knew that you would have to take time off of work, too. I'll support you the best I can, but I want to prioritize your feelings. It's up to you.
You're always thinking of me, and I really do appreciate it. I also can't wait to have kids with you. Let's do this together.
And so, together, we decided to really start trying for a baby. We did some research online and found out that there were a lot of factors involved, like body temperature and the timing of the ovulation cycle. We decided to move forward while prioritizing Tomomi's health and condition. Unfortunately, a year went by and we were still unsuccessful. According to multiple medical studies, when a couple has trouble getting pregnant for more than a year, there was a big chance of infertility. Just in case, we went to a fertility test together and were met with the devastating news that my wife was in fact infertile. Upon hearing this, Tomomi was sent into a deep depression.
I'm so sorry. Because of me, you also won't be able to have kids. And I'm so sorry. It's not too late for you. If you want to marry somebody else, then I completely understand.
What are you saying? Don't be dumb. I married you because I love you. I married you because I want to be a family with you, Tomomi. Sure, I wish that we could have children together, but I never thought for even a second that I would divorce you or ever marry someone else. I want to be with you and only you forever. Of course, I was disappointed that we wouldn't be able to have kids, but in this day and age, there were multiple other ways that we could have children. The two of us talked about it, and as a result, we decided against the fertility treatment due to the physical and financial risk. Instead, we were going to consider adoption. If we're going to adopt a child, do you think that we should discuss it with our parents first?
Yeah, that's true. They were also looking forward to having grandchildren, so that's a good idea.
My wife and I went to my parents' house to go and speak with them. Since it was the Obon holiday, all of our relatives were gathered together at my parents' house. I sat my immediate family down, and when they asked me about our plans to have kids, I spoke to them honestly about our situation. When... Infertility? Well, that sucks. Guess you really drew the short stick there, huh?
How unfortunate. You're defective as a woman.
Hey, mind your words.
It's okay, really. Just don't make a big deal.
This rude couple with no sense of respect is embarrassingly Hideyuki, my brother who is 5 years older than me, and his wife, that makes her my sister-in-law. Just like this, there were people who would say incredibly insensitive things without any empathy, and to be honest, I don't like them. I'm pretty sure that their son will be entering middle school this year. Luckily for them, he was accepted into a prestigious middle school, and the two of them could not stop bragging about it. Despite being in such an irritating position, Tomomi kept on saying not to worry about it, so I did my best to ignore them. However, a few weeks after we had gone home... Yo, you got a minute? Yeah? What? I was thinking of coming over to your house right now. Are you home? Well, yeah, it's the day off, so we're both home, but what do you want? I need to ask for a favor. A favor? What is it? You'll find out when I get there, don't sweat it. Just tell me already. Even if you're my brother, you can't just come barging into my house without any explanation. How cold, even to your own older brother. Fine, I'll tell you the reason. We were thinking of having you take our daughter off of our hands. Excuse me? I was in shock at this insane favor that he was suggesting. First of all, my brother hadn't spoken about his daughter in a very long time. Part of it is because he's always bragging about his son, but in any case, I thought that he was making a terrible joke. But to our surprise, he actually arrived at our house with my niece Maho with him. What? Seeing Maho in front of us, Tomomi and I both froze. If I remember correctly, she could have been entering the 3rd grade this year, but she was so skinny and scrawny with a tired look on her face, and she looked far below her own age. We invited them inside and my brother started to talk. Hey, see, you were just thinking about adopting a kid, right? Well, this is perfect. I'll give you this kid. You're even related by blood, so that's even better, isn't it? We couldn't believe what we were hearing. We continued listening and found out the situation. Maho was a very quiet and calm kid, and regardless of whether she was home or somewhere else, she would always be reading books. Even in this very moment, she was sitting in the corner silently reading a book. However, she had difficulty staying calm at times and was causing some disturbances at school, to the point where her teachers had contacted the parents about it multiple times. She was also having trouble socializing, and because she had never had any friends, she was also being bullied at school. Because of these repeated instances, they switched her over to homeschooling, but she refused to study and would only read her books all day. After explaining the whole situation, my brother said out loud, "Even when we talk to her, she doesn't respond. But then if we take our eyes off of her, she wanders around by herself. And she's just a handful in general. We don't know what to do with her anymore, and so that's why we'll give her to you. Having our son is more than enough for us." He was saying all this with her sitting right beside him. There was a lot that I wanted to say, but all that I could think was, I see, but it looks like she's really lost a lot of weight. Are you feeding her properly? Was how abnormally skinny she was. Without an inkling of responsibility, my brother said, "In our house, if you don't listen to what the parents say, the punishment is to take away your dinner. But even when we did take away her dinner, she still doesn't respond, so, How long was this going for? When was the last time that she had a proper meal?" It was a clear case of child abuse. There were tears streaming down her face.
This poor girl! For how long has she had to endure this suffering?
It looked like there was no need for further discussion. I made eye contact with Tomomi and turned to face my brother. "Fine, but in return, don't you ever show your face in front of me or this child ever again." "As if you gotta ask me twice. See you never!" And just like that, we took in my niece, and we suddenly became parents to a little girl in the 3rd grade. A few days later... How's Maho doing? Is she okay?
Well, she doesn't seem to be too upset that she was thrown away by her own family.
I guess when you have parents like that, it makes sense.
But I have to say, he wasn't wrong in that she's different. It seems like she really does love books, and she'll spend the entire day reading from morning to night.
I see. But if that's all that she was doing, then it's pretty normal, and maybe she's just a really calm and quiet kid.
But her ability to focus is really amazing. It's almost to the point where she forgets to eat her own meals.
But she really needs to eat. By the way, what about the toys that my friend brought over for her?
She hasn't even touched them. It seems like she has no interest in games or dolls or anything.
Well, I guess that saves us some money, so that's not a bad thing.
I'm a little worried that she's hesitating.
Let's keep an eye on it. Just like my brother had said, Maho was a bit of a strange kid. She always looked like she was dreaming with her head in the clouds. She could have conversations pretty normally, but it was more obvious when she was left alone and doing nothing. For example, whenever she's reading a book or lost in her own thoughts, she would never respond even if we were speaking directly to her. She wouldn't even attempt to do any of the work for her homeschooling, and it made me think that she must really dislike studying. However, just as we were thinking that she was really calm, she would have sudden bursts of energy where she would not be able to stand still. When we would go out with her, she would run off on her own and go missing. I tried to do some research online, and from everything that I found, I could only assume that she had some sort of developmental disability.
Do you think we should take her to a hospital or a treatment center and have her assessed?
I looked into that too, but all of the appointments were full for the next 6 months.
Wow, 6 months is a long time. Well, why don't we make the reservation and we can keep an eye on her in the meantime?
That's a good idea.
The most important thing is that the two of us try our best to understand her. She might be a little different, but at the core we know she's a sweet girl.
You're right. It's our duty to look after her with love and care. We couldn't deny that she was a strange child, and perhaps there would be a lot of difficulties ahead, but it's not like we were distressed by any of it. All that being said, we were really enjoying our new lives as parents, and cherished the time that we got to spend together as a family. However, one day, my wife had gone out to run errands, and I was home alone with Maho, when... Hey, are you busy right now? Something crazy just happened.
What? What happened?
I just lost in a game of shogi.
Oh, is that it? Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I thought something happened to Maho.
No, but that's the thing. I lost to Maho.
Oh, really? I didn't know that she had any experience with a game of shogi.
Nope, she said it was her first time ever seeing the game.
Did you go easy on her, or was it just beginner's luck?
Of course I was at first, but she caught on so quickly that I eventually was going all out, and by the time we finished, I didn't stand a chance.
I'm going to ask again, but you said she had never played shogi before, right?
Yeah, even though I can't believe it. I loved playing shogi as a hobby and had been playing for years. That day, I'd been practicing by myself when Maho came over. Are you interested? I can teach you.
Yeah.
Maho had been staring at me playing, so I invited her to join me. I handed her a shogi book and taught her the basic rules. Before we started our first game, to my disbelief, within a matter of hours, I was unable to beat her. Sure, it was only a hobby for me, so I wasn't that strong to begin with, but even then, there was no way that I should lose to an elementary school girl who had just learned the rules and had never played before. When my wife returned home, I told her the story once again, and we realized that she might be even more special than we could have imagined. Shortly after, we got a notice from the hospital that our appointment turn had arrived, and we were able to be seen by a specialist sooner than we had expected. That was when we found out that she was gifted. We learned that a gifted child had an inherently high level of intelligence, and to put it simply, she's a genius. Maho's IQ scored at above 160, and had a brain that would even give Einstein a run for his money. According to the doctor, it was very common to misdiagnose a gifted child as having a developmental disability. That would explain why my brother and his wife, as well as my wife, and I took so long to recognize it. Well then, why do you hate studying so much, Maho?
Because it's too easy. Once I look at it, I can figure it out. So I don't need anyone to teach it to me.
That's true. I guess you've been reading those books meant for adults with no problem, haven't you?
My old dad and mom would only give me easy books to read. But ever since you said I can read whatever book I want around this house, it's been really fun. I'm so much happier living with my new mom and dad.
This was the first time that Maho had called us her mom and dad, and it made me so emotional that my eyes started to well up. But this wasn't a time for tears. This meant that her elementary school studies were far too easy for her, and wasting her time, so there was no point in trying to force her to go to a regular school. My wife and I started to look for more suitable options for her education, and I could keep up with her intellect and building our lives around her potential. 4 years later...
Dad, what do you think? Do I look good in the uniform?
You look great, honey. You've grown up so fast. You're almost like an adult.
Alright guys, look this way for a photo. Say cheese!
Maho was entering her first year of middle school. When it came to her studies, once we prepared a higher level material for her that was aimed at gifted children, she focused on it with the same level of passion as she had for reading, and her genius became more and more evident. In addition, we took her for an operation to a membership club full of gifted children. She was so excited to finally have other people like her, and we decided to enroll her. There, she was finally able to socialize with other kids and make her first friends. Even though she had so much difficulty fitting in before, being around others that were like her made it easier for her to communicate. Nowadays, even though there are moments when she is still a little different, she is able to communicate with and understand normal people like us without any issues. Although there are many times when we can't keep up with what she was saying. Maho, you're in teacher mode! We came up with a system that anytime we told her that she was in teacher mode, it meant that she was getting carried away in a conversation that we couldn't understand. Inside of her brain was pages and pages of information that she had been collecting ever since she was young. So it was only natural for her to speak about things that we couldn't keep up with. Even then, Maho's genius became well known in the area. So people were understanding and would let it slide when she would go off on her own tangents. What was even more amazing was that Maho passed a university exam in America where she could skip a few grades. So starting next year, our daughter was going to be a college student. What are we gonna do with you so far away? And America at that, the other side of the world.
Don't worry, I'm gonna video call you every day, and I will come back during all the holidays.
That's right, this is our first step to letting go of our child and letting her become an adult.
I know. I was overwhelmed with sadness at the fact that she was going to be going so far away. I vowed to make sure that her last year of middle school in Japan would be full of happy memories to take with her. Until one day, an unexpected person showed up at our door. What are you doing here? Yo, long time no see, brother. I told you that I never wanted to see you ever again, didn't I? It was my brother, who had thrown away his own child. I hadn't seen him in years, and he didn't look great, with his clothes all dirty and full of holes. You could tell in one look that he was not doing well. But that was none of my business, so I was not happy to see him. I tried to kick him out, but... Please! Even if it's just a little bit, please just let me borrow some money! He got down on his knees and started begging me for money. I knew that I had a bad feeling about this, and I let out a big sigh. I let him explain his situation to me, and it was beyond my wildest imagination. It all started when his son was starting to work part-time at a restaurant. My brother's son had already become a high schooler. Well, I guess he is Maho's older brother, so he's already at that age, I thought, and I continued listening. One day, they found out that their son had been putting the ingredients into the trash can and then taking them back out and putting them on plates to serve, and he had been taking videos of it as a joke. Even worse, he had uploaded those videos to social media. He was trying to go viral, and as expected, that video blew up on both social media and in their faces. The video was traced back to him, and even their address was exposed. And when his school found out, they expelled him. Their house was bombarded with anger and hate, to the point where none of them could even go outside anymore. Because of that, my brother and my brother's wife had no choice but to quit their jobs, and overnight their house went up in flames. To make matters worse, they were sued by the corporation that owned the restaurant, and they had hit rock bottom with nowhere else to go and no money in sight. However, to be honest, I had no sympathy for them in me, and I was just gonna say no when... With terrible timing, Maho had just gotten home from school. Seeing her, my brother extended out his arms, saying, "Maho, look at you! You've gotten so big! You're now, that's right, you're in middle school, right? Anyway, you've gotten so big and beautiful." He continued to stare at her, looking her up and down as though he was evaluating the price of a product. I tried to get in between them, but my brother ignored me and continued talking. "Oh, that's right. I gave you this kid, so you gotta pay me for her." "Excuse you?" "Yeah, what was I thinking? Handing over a child to you for free? That was a mistake, so, pay up. Let's say, 10,000. I couldn't believe my ears, and I was on the verge of throwing hands when...
Who are you? My dad is the person standing right there. Why should my dad have to pay $10,000 to a stranger I never even seen before?
With ice in her eyes, she proclaimed that she had absolutely no ties to my brother. With her sharp memory, there was no way that she'd forgotten the person standing in front of her, so this made her intentions loud and clear.
Dad, should I call the police?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Dad was just getting fed up with this, so I'll call the cops immediately. "Hey, come on now! I'm your brother, so we share the same blood! I'm your father, and I gave birth to you, so please, just help me!"
Well then, why don't I take this opportunity to teach you one more thing? I'm actually rich, and I have a lot of money of my own.
What?
You know, it turns out that I have a gift for trading stocks. I started around the time I was high school age, and now I have about $300,000 of my own money saved up. That's because my mom and dad accepted me for who I was, and raised me with love and care to fulfill my potential. If you had also raised your child with love and care, then I'm sure none of this would have happened. How pathetic.
What? No! You're lying! You're a disabled child and a worthless piece of crap! There's no way that's possible! Stop spewing such crazy lies!
Well, whether you choose to believe it or not is up to you. But if you ever try to get in the way of my happiness ever again, I won't take it lightly.
The police arrived shortly after, and my brother was dragged out of our house. Maho said with a refreshed look on her face.
Phew! I'm so glad I was able to say what I've always wanted to say before leaving Japan.
My brother's return was unpleasant and unwelcome, but if it meant that Maho could get that weight off of her chest, then maybe it was alright in the end. After that, I started to get calls left and right from my parents and our relatives. It turned out that my brother and his wife had been going around to anyone and everyone to try and get their help. Of course, no one agreed. I had already spoken to my parents and all of our relatives about their treatment of Maho. We were only telling them in order to avoid running into them at any family gatherings or events, so I didn't even think that it would lead to their isolation from the family. That being said, I have no intention of feeling sorry for them. Not at all. The abuse that Maho endured for years could never be erased. All this meant was that they were finally receiving punishment for what they had done. My brother and his wife were eventually evicted from their house, losing everything. My relative in real estate notified us that my brother's house was up for sale, and none of us know where they are now. I can only imagine where they might have ended up, and surely it isn't good. Maho, are you sure it was okay for you to talk about your assets with such gold diggers like that?
That's a good point. I'm worried they might try to come after you now.
Don't worry, it's fine. I'm going to install a home security system here. And even from afar, I'm going to protect you two, my mom and dad.
You've become such an amazing adult. I don't know what we did to deserve a daughter like you.
I know, we're so lucky.
What are you guys saying? The only reason I've been able to come this far is because of you guys. So I want to do whatever I can to support you in return.
Maho,
To be completely honest with you, when I was brought to this house, I had low expectations and no hope. I thought it would be the same anywhere I went, that there would be nobody who could ever understand me. But that day, Mom, even though you were meeting me for the first time, you held me with tears streaming down your face. And that was the first time that I'd ever felt love in my life. I'm so glad I was brought to this house, and I'm so grateful that I grew up in this house with you as my parents. I may be going to America, but I'll always be thinking of you. Maho!
Like the day she met Maho for the first time, Tomomi held Maho and hugged her tightly through her tears, and I joined them, holding my beloved wife and my daughter in my arms. My wife and I were lost at the fact that we couldn't bear children, and Maho was lonely and stuck with a family that didn't love her. We can only believe that it was fate for the three of us to find each other. Beyond a blood relationship, we have an even deeper connection between the three of us that can never be broken. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect this happiness that we found. My name is Yuta Otaki, 25 years old. I am a chef at the restaurant. This is a story that seems straight out of a movie, starting with a fateful introduction and an unimaginable ending. I started working in restaurants straight out of graduating high school, and my first job was at a Western restaurant where I spent 5 years cooking and learning. I'm now working at my family's Western restaurant. I came back here 2 years ago to help out my parents. My dad, Takahiro, is the head chef, and my mom, Fumiko, handles the front of the house as well as the accounting. Besides the three of us, we have 2 part-time employees who work at the front of the house, and it's a fairly small family business. I'm an only child, so ever since I was little, I was raised under the assumption that I would one day take after the restaurant. I helped my father in the kitchen from a young age, and I loved cooking with him. So I never thought twice about another career path. That was also because this restaurant that my family owned had been loved by the local community for many, many years. It was pretty famous, if I do say so myself, and our neighbors and our friends would often come for birthdays and other celebrations. Long story short, I loved this restaurant with all my heart. And ever since I was a little boy, I dreamed of the day that I would be working here with my parents. I wanted to refine my skills by working directly next to my dad, so I was hoping to take the reins in the near future. However, little by little, our customers stopped coming, and our sales were going downhill, and the reason for that was...
Your mom and I just went out for a meal there.
Oh, how was it?
The interior was pretty fancy. For an old couple like your mom and I, we didn't quite feel like we'd fit in, and it was a little unsettling. But I think that it would be a huge hit for the younger generation.
I see, and the food? How was it?
It wasn't bad. The cooking itself was just alright, but they're using better ingredients than I imagined. And the pricing is also reasonable.
Darn, I was really hoping that you'd at least say that the flavors were mediocre.
To be honest, I can see why a restaurant like this would be easier to walk into than an old place like ours.
Hey now, you can't admit defeat already. You just went by to check out the competition. It's not over yet, right?
That may be true, but I honestly don't see what we can do to compete. The dishes were all plated really nicely too, and they were all, what's that word again? Something grammable or whatever?
Instagrammable, yeah. That's true. These days a restaurant can get customers for that sole reason alone.
And it's something that our restaurant doesn't have. But you know, you're still a part of the younger generation, right? That Instagrammable thing, is that something that you could incorporate for us too?
Well, I'll try and think about it, but to be honest, I'm not really confident that I can do it. I've only studied cooking up until now, and I also don't really keep up with the trends these days.
But we need to do something. If we go on like this, it's really not looking good for us.
Yeah, I know. Our restaurant was a little bit of a walk from the nearest train station, but recently a new restaurant had opened up even closer to the station. They were also a mainly Western restaurant, but they had put a lot of effort into their interiors, and it seemed like a good spot for dates. Like my father mentioned, despite the reasonable pricing, they were using high-end ingredients. I did some research and found out that they were backed by a big chain restaurant corporation, and within the city they'd opened up over 10 stores. Because it's a popular chain, an independent family-owned business would be hard to compete against them. Our restaurant's customers are mainly our regulars, but because it's also in a slightly hidden location, we don't get that much foot traffic, and therefore we don't get that much new customers often. On the other hand, the new restaurants had a much more open and welcoming atmosphere. so it was probably really easy to walk into as a customer. And since it's so close to the train station, it's probably easy to get non-locals that don't live in this neighborhood too. To summarize, since most of our customers were locals from the neighborhood and our regular customers for many years, this restaurant would be taking all of our potential new customers that were already few and far between us. And to be honest, that was not good for us, and would put us in a very tight situation. We're barely getting by right now thanks to our regulars, but if we can't get any new customers in our door, it was certain that we would go broke. We couldn't just sit by and do nothing, so we gave a few ideas a try. I tried passing out flyers near the train station or giving incentives to our regulars for introducing new customers, and we even tried giving social media a try, although we barely knew how it worked. Our situation continued without much change though, and our competitor was doing the same type of marketing but twice, if not more, far better than we were. There was simply no way that a young chef's little efforts could compete with the momentum of a trendy new place backed by a large corporation. Then one day our restaurant had so few people coming in that we closed early, and I decided to drag my feet over to this place that was dragging us down. It wasn't necessarily for research, but I was hoping to find some kind of hint for us to crack the code. However, get out! From the back door of the restaurant, I heard an unpleasant voice. I ran around to take a look, and that's when I saw, "You piece of trash! This isn't a place for people like you! You're not allowed here!"
I'm so sorry, bud.
Standing there was who I believed to be the head chef of the restaurant, and a young woman who looked quite rough, shaking behind him. The woman was soaked from head to toe in wine, and in the chef's hand was an empty bottle of cooking wine. It seemed like she was a homeless woman who was going through the trash can and he was trying to chase her away. But even then, it seemed excessive. I decided to get between them. "Excuse me, I don't know what's going on here, but that's not an okay thing to do. Standing up for garbage like her? You must be such a sucker. If you feel so sorry for her, then take her back with you, but far away from here!" He spat this at me, and he went back inside of his own restaurant. I hurried over to the woman who was in shambles. Despite her rough and dirty look, she was a lot younger than I initially thought. She might even be younger than me. "Are you okay? You look completely soaked." It's not very often that you see a homeless person this young. I wondered what the situation might be. Did she run away from home? If she's underage, then I should report it to the police. I've had all these thoughts running through my head, but I was still not able to put them into words. Suddenly, this woman, who looked like she might be homeless, slowly stood up, and she started to approach me.
I'm so sorry for this inconvenience. I'll be going now.
She said as she tried to leave. To be fair, there wasn't much I could do for a homeless person. However, for some reason, I felt like I couldn't just leave her alone, and without thinking, I blurted, "Wait!" I stopped her and then hurried over to give her a piece of paper. "Here, this is my messenger ID. If you don't have a cell phone, then you can call this number. It's small, but my family runs a Western restaurant down the road. If you ever need help, come and find me, and I'll see what I can do. Don't hesitate, okay?" It almost seemed like I was hitting on her, but I gave her my contact information. She seemed flustered and continued and ran off immediately. But she did take the piece of paper with her, and the next day...
Hi, I'm the girl that you met yesterday in the trash pit. Do you remember me?
Hello, yes, of course. I'm honestly relieved to hear from you.
I hate to be such an inconvenience to someone I only met once, but I don't have anyone else that I can rely on, and...
No worries at all. I'm the one who gave you my contact information in the first place. By the way, what's your name?
I'm Shiho Uchachi.
My name is Yuta Otaki. Nice to meet you. Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 17.
17 years old? You're still a minor!
Yes.
What about your parents?
I don't know. We got into a fight and I haven't seen them since.
So does that mean that you ran away from home?
I guess so. Maybe I should have reached out. It was silly of me to rely on a stranger.
No, and now that I know that you're a minor, I especially can't just leave you like this.
But I can't have you calling the police either. I can't go home right now due to some reasons.
Okay, well, you don't have anywhere to go right now, right?
Yes, that's right.
Well then, why don't you come to our place for now? I live with my mom and my dad, so you won't be stuck alone with me or anything.
But...
And I won't call the police, I promise.
Okay, thank you so much, truly.
Where are you now?
I'm at Rookie Park.
Alright, I'll be there soon, so wait there.
My cell phone battery's about to die. But even if you can't get in touch with me, I promise I'll be there, so please don't worry.
Alright, I'll be there in around 15 minutes, okay? I knew that it was a risk to give her my contact information, but little did I know that that decision would change our lives. For the time being, I wanted to help this lost girl, and I hurried over to find her in the park. I found Shiho on a park bench, and the same dirty clothes from yesterday, which meant that it was still covered in wine. Shiho, does that mean that you've been in those clothes this whole time? You need to take a shower. Come with me. It may have been April and spring already, but the mornings and nights were cold. She could have easily gotten sick in that state, so I rushed over to get her to my house.
Utah? Who is that? What happened to her?
She's so dirty! What have you done?
I'll explain later. Her name is Shiho. Mom, can you please show her where the shower is?
You better explain everything to me.
I will, but first just let her get in the bath, and I'll cook something for her.
I'll help you.
With my dad's help, we were able to prepare a meal in an instant. Shiho came out of the shower.
Thank you very much.
No, sure, as long as you're feeling refreshed. I stumbled on my words. I couldn't tell in her ratty and homeless-looking state, but after washing up and wearing normal clothes, she was actually quite a beautiful girl.
Shio was such a cute girl. I'm glad we were able to change her clothes for her.
That outfit is from when you were younger. I'm surprised you still have it and that it looks this great.
You know, I always wanted to have a daughter.
Gee, guys, come on now. You can talk about that later. Shiho must be starving. We had Shiho sit down at the dining room table and laid out the food for her.
Is this omurice?
Yeah, it's one of our specialties. I hope you like it. She nodded her head and with the spoon in her hands started eating. At first she hesitated with the small bites, but before we knew it, she was shoveling the food into her mouth. She must have been hungry. I wonder when her last meal might have been.
Wow, it's so yummy. Thank you so much.
As she was eating, tears started to stream down her face. I could only imagine how she had been living for the past week. Once she was done eating, I sat down next to her and asked her to tell me more about her situation. It wasn't rare for high school girls to run away from home, but no matter how you looked at it, she doesn't seem like such a rebel. I imagine there must have been some deep reason, but the story that came out of her mouth was beyond our wildest imagination.
How is it going?
It seems like it all went well. How was the reaction online?
It's blowing up. It's been all over the news. The company's name is trending on social media too.
I went to go look at the restaurants earlier today, but they were closed, even though it should be the busiest time of the middle of the day on a weekend.
That's true. But it's become this big of a deal that it makes sense.
It seems like the sanitation department has opened an investigation too, so everything should be fine now.
Thank you so much.
By the way, are you sure this was okay?
Yes, this is perfect. I've always had a bad relationship with my dad for a long time now.
I see. Well, I guess that just because you're family doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get along.
Once everything calms down, I'm sure there will be a day when we can talk about it, but that will probably be impossible for now.
If you have nowhere else to go, you're more than welcome to stay with us.
Are you sure? That's a lot to ask.
Of course, at this point, it wouldn't make a difference. My mom loves you already, too. If anything, I think they'd be more sad if you were to leave.
That makes me really happy to hear. Thank you so much, truly, for everything. If it weren't for your help and your parents' support, I wouldn't have been able to come this far.
But that's all because of your efforts and hard work. We didn't do much, we just wanted to support you however we could.
Even still, I'm so grateful to the three of you.
That famed new restaurant that was stealing all of our new customers ended up closing, followed by all the other restaurants that were involved in that chain. It caused quite the commotion on the news, too. The reason for that is that they were committing food fraud and deceiving their customers across all of their restaurants. Essentially, they were using extremely cheap ingredients while claiming that they were high-end. When my parents and I heard this, we were shocked but not that surprised. No wonder they were pushing the narrative of high-end ingredients so much. It all made sense. For better or for worse, if you're told that they're using good ingredients, unless you have an expert tongue, anyone would think, wow, I get to eat at a place this good at this price? And be impressed. Although it was only a matter of time before the truth would come out. That wasn't all though. They were using expired ingredients and expired seasoning. And upon further investigation, their sanitary standards across all the restaurants were abysmal. Because of this, the sanitation department got involved and had a full launch investigation, resulting in all of the restaurants being forced to close. And the catalyst of all this coming to light was Shiho and me. It turns out that Shiho is actually the daughter of the president of the corporation that was backing all of these restaurants. She was working part-time at one of his restaurants when she caught on to the food fraud that was going on. She reported it to her father Koichi immediately, but his response was not what she expected.
This isn't a place for a small little girl like you to open your mouth!
But Dad...
It's not like anyone can taste the difference anyway, so there's no problem. And look at this! Even the famous celebrity food blogger Watari has given us rave reviews!
Yeah, but still, no!
If we're able to keep on deceiving them, then I don't see any problems here.
That was his stance, and he refused to listen to Shiho. Shiho, on the other hand, still refused to accept this and still tried even harder to reason with her father, but
Please, Dad, think this over! We can't keep doing this, otherwise one day it's gonna blow up in our faces. You know that food can kill people if it's not taken care of properly. We can't keep doing this.
Shut up! If you don't like the way we're doing things, then you can leave. Get out! And don't even think about showing your face here ever again!
and kicked out of the house. No matter the reason for this fight, kicking out a 17-year-old high school girl from your house is unacceptable as a parent. The reason why she was in the trash pit of that restaurant wasn't because she was scavenging for food, but it was actually because she was looking for evidence for the illegal activities that happened. And that was when she met me. When she explained everything to me, with my parents' help, we went to the Department of Sanitation to file a complaint, and did whatever we could to help Shiho bring justice to her father's restaurants. In perfect timing, there were a number of cases of food poisoning being claimed at some of the restaurants, and it all became clear in an explosive story. They were lucky that they hadn't caused anything worse than food poisoning until now. For what it's worth, on social media, even the celebrities that have been praising and promoting the restaurants were being cancelled. And the commotion stretched not only across the restaurant industry, but also the entertainment industry. Food blogs that were promoting the restaurants were suspected of having backdoor connections with the restaurants, and the flames just kept on getting bigger and bigger. It looks like it's gonna be a while before the fires calm down. Of course, the restaurant chain was completely bashed, and they had zero customers anywhere and were forced to close permanently. On top of that, they were sued by the customers who experienced food poisoning and also the food blogs who would receive the backlash. And were left with an even higher cost of damages to pay. It's not looking good for anyone involved. Along with the businesses all closing, the company was also facing the lawsuits. So it's only a matter of time before they all go completely bankrupt. According to my dad's calculations, it's most likely that it won't just end in bankruptcy and they'll have to go into debt. On the other hand, when it comes to Shiho, we ended up taking her into our family for the time being. Her father was not only a terrible person, but he was about to disappear into the lawsuits. Just as my dad predicted, he went into debt in the millions, and we don't know what happened to him since. We can only imagine that he's stuck in a hell now where he wishes that he was dead. Her mother got a divorce but had nowhere to go. And in order to evade any responsibility for the businesses, she also disappeared. Since Shiho didn't have any other family around who could take care of her, we went into the family court and my parents became our legal guardians.
Everyone, thank you from the bottom of my heart for welcoming me like this. You took a chance at a complete stranger, and I'm so grateful to you all. I'm going to become independent as soon as possible so I don't cause any further inconvenience to you all, and
Oh, don't be silly, Shiho. Stop being so stiff. We want you to think of us as your family and to treat us as such. That's all we want, and we'll continue to support you however we can.
Exactly, and I'm thrilled to finally have a daughter. You're making my dream come true too.
Welcome to the family, Shiho.
yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Shiho officially moved into our house, and now she even helps out at the restaurant. After the other restaurants collapsed, ours took the opposite turn and has been going uphill since. The reason for that was because Shiho was strong at social media, and she helped us set up an Instagram and Twitter account for the restaurant. And it doesn't hurt that she's also so cute that she became the face of our restaurant on social media. And now some of her fans will come to the restaurant just to see her. Shiho also came up with the idea of an Instagrammable menu so that we could attract more younger audiences. When she put this up on the social media pages, she included coupons and campaigns, and it was all a huge success. We were all able to evade the competition of the other restaurants, while also increasing our own sales. We could think of Shiho as the savior and goddess of our restaurant. A year has passed and Shiho has become a full part of the family. She insisted that instead of going to college, she wants to stay and work full-time at the restaurant.
Wow, knowing that you'll be a part of this family business makes me so happy, and I'm more confident than ever about our future.
As for your future, I can only hope that someday you'll become Yuta's wife.
Mom, stop making jokes like that, it's embarrassing. Plus, there's no doubt that a girl as cute as Shiho is too popular anyway.
That's true.
Well, I'll definitely think about it.
Really? You'd consider it?
Oh, honey, did you hear that?
Of course I did. Should we make a full-course meal tonight to celebrate?
Mom, Dad, cut it out! We're not even dating and my parents had already jumped 100 steps ahead. In 5 years' time, Shiho and I would actually get married. But that would be a story for another time.